The sun had already dipped below the horizon when Daniel Carver slipped quietly through his suburban home. The dim glow of the porch light barely illuminated the familiar faces of Emma and Sophie playing upstairs. Their laughter was a fragile echo, masking the storm brewing inside Daniel's chest. He settled into the worn armchair in the living room, eyes fixed on the small voice recorder clutched in his hand. It was a silent witness to the truth he'd long suspected but never dared confirm. Earlier that day, while Laura was out running errands, Daniel had found her phone carelessly left unattended. His fingers trembled as he scrolled through messages, seeing names he didn't recognize, cryptic phrases, and plans for secret meetings. Now, as the recorded voices played, Daniel's heart pounded louder than the muffled conversation. "Are you sure no one's around?" Laura's voice was soft, cautious, yet charged with anticipation. "Yeah, the coast is clear," the man replied, voice low and steady. "You're safe." "I can't wait to see you," she whispered, laughter barely contained. The moment ended, but Daniel's mind raced. This wasn't a simple mistake or one-night slip. It was a carefully hidden double life. He thought back to the early days of their marriage, the promises exchanged under golden sunlight, the dreams of a perfect family. But cracks had appeared, late nights, unexplained absences, cold silences. Daniel's breath hitched. How long had this been going on? How many lies had been woven into the fabric of their life? With a deep, steadying breath, he pulled out the phone and began piecing together the threads, names, locations, times. 3 men, 3 secret lives, and behind it all, a wife he thought he knew. Daniel's quiet storm had become a raging tempest, and the man who built houses for a living now prepared to dismantle the only home he truly cared about. The days that followed were a haze of sleepless nights and silent observation. Daniel became a shadow in his own home, watching, listening, waiting. He set up discreet cameras in the living room and near Laura's car. Every detail mattered. Each text message, every secret call, was another piece of the puzzle. At the office, Laura acted as if nothing had changed, her smile bright, her eyes calculating. But Daniel noticed the subtle changes, the hurried glances at her phone, the occasional tense pause during conversations. One afternoon, Daniel sat at the local cafe, his laptop open but his mind elsewhere. He was cross-referencing phone numbers, trying to match faces to names. Mark, a tall man with a confident swagger, a coworker Laura often mentioned in passing. Jason, a friendly neighbor who always offered to help with the lawn. Eric, a mysterious figure unknown to Daniel, but frequently appearing in Laura's messages, always from a different city. Daniel's fingers trembled as he copied down addresses, dates, times. The betrayal was deeper and wider than he imagined. At night, when the house was silent except for the soft breathing of his daughters upstairs, Daniel's mind twisted with anger and doubt. Was it his fault? Had he failed as a husband? Or was this cold deception a betrayal, too deep to forgive? Yet beneath the pain a dark resolve grew. If Laura could live so freely with lies, then Daniel would answer in kind, but on his own terms. He began to plan, not out of anger, but out of a cold, deliberate sense of justice. The early morning light filtered weakly through the blinds as Daniel sat at the kitchen table, a steaming cup of black coffee forgotten beside him. His fingers traced the edge of a folded envelope. Inside, photographs, notes, and a printed text message thread he had painstakingly compiled over the past week. Each photo was a frame stolen from Laura's secret life, meetings in shadowed cafes, stolen kisses in empty parking lots, the smile she reserved for men who were not him. Daniel's jaw tightened. This was no longer about hurt feelings or broken promises. It was about control. He began with Mark, the coworker. Daniel visited the office under the pretense of checking on some plans. He watched Mark's movements, noted his habits, and found the perfect weakness to exploit. Mark's pride, a whispered rumor here, a sly comment there, and the seed of distrust took root. Next was Jason, the neighbor. Daniel waited until Jason was alone in his garage, then dropped by with a forced smile, borrowing a tool and casually slipping in a pointed question about Laura's recent busy schedule. The unease in Jason's eyes was unmistakable. Finally, Eric, the wild card, the man from another city, a ghost in Laura's digital footprint. Daniel's investigations led him to a small motel on the outskirts, where he left an anonymous note warning Eric to stay away. Behind every move, Daniel's mind churned, balancing rage and restraint. He couldn't afford a misstep. His daughters needed him whole, even as the man he was began to fracture. Late at night, Daniel sat alone, the house silent but for the distant sound of the girls' breathing upstairs. He wondered how far he was willing to go. Was this justice, or the first step toward ruin? The evening air was heavy with rain as Daniel arrived at the secluded restaurant, the stage for the confrontation he had carefully orchestrated. Inside, the dim light flickered over polished wood and scattered glasses, casting long shadows that seemed to swallow the tense atmosphere whole. Laura was already there, flawless as ever, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of unease. Around the table sat Mark, Jason, and Eric, three men bound by one woman's secret web. The conversation was strained, polite at first, but each sentence was a blade hidden beneath silk. Daniel watched from the corner, noting every glance, every twitch of a finger. "How long were we supposed to keep this secret?" Jason finally snapped, voice low but edged with anger. Laura smiled coldly. "Secrets are meant to protect, not to hurt." Mark scoffed. "Protect? You lied to all of us." Eric's gaze darted around, calculating his next move. Suddenly the power cut out, plunging the room into darkness. A gunshot shattered the silence. When the lights flickered back on, Laura lay sprawled on the floor, blood pooling beneath her. Daniel stood nearby, hands trembling but eyes hard as steel. Chaos erupted. Accusations, screams, confusion. Daniel's plan had crossed a line from calculated revenge to irreversible destruction. He looked down at Laura's lifeless body and felt a hollow ache where love once lived. The flashing red and blue lights painted the quiet suburban street in sharp strokes of urgency. Police cars had arrived in force, and officers swarmed the restaurant where Laura lay dead on the floor. The once cozy place was now a chaotic scene of overturned chairs, scattered glasses, and hurried footsteps. Detective Olivia Harper stepped under the yellow police tape, her eyes sharp and calculating. She took in the details, the bloodstain spreading slowly across the polished wood, the tense faces of those present, and the air thick with unspoken accusations. Daniel Carver sat quietly in the corner, his hands folded tightly in his lap, his face pale but composed. To the others he seemed the broken husband, mourning his lost wife. But Harper sensed something deeper, layers beneath the grief. Interrogations began swiftly. Interrogation with Daniel. Detective Harper sat across from Daniel in the stark interrogation room, the cold metal table between them gleaming under the harsh fluorescent light. "Mr. Carver," she began, voice steady and authoritative, "can you tell me where you were the night your wife was killed?" Daniel met her gaze, voice measured. "I was at the restaurant. I arranged the dinner." Harper's eyebrows rose. You organized a dinner with your wife and 3 men she was involved with? Daniel's jaw clenched, eyes darkening. I needed answers. I couldn't live with the lies anymore. She leaned forward slightly. Did you bring a weapon with you? A flicker of hesitation crossed Daniel's face, but he answered truthfully. Number, I wanted this to end with the truth, not violence. Harper studied him carefully. Yet your fingerprints were found on the gun that killed your wife. Daniel swallowed hard, voice cracking just slightly. I picked it up after to protect my daughters. I didn't want them to grow up haunted by what happened. Mr. Carver, Harper's tone sharpened. You were betrayed, angry, humiliated. You had every motive. Daniel's eyes filled with a quiet sorrow. I had pain, but I'm not a killer. Then who do you think is responsible? Harper asked softly. Daniel looked away, voice barely above a whisper. I don't know anymore. I thought I did. But now, nothing is clear. Interrogation with others. Harper questioned Mark, Jason, and Eric, but their stories wavered under pressure. Mark claimed to be home alone, Jason said he was helping a friend move, and Eric insisted he was out of town. Yet inconsistencies and new evidence, security footage, witness reports, kept the investigation swirling in uncertainty. Meanwhile, Daniel returned home to the fragile sanctuary of his daughters. Emma and Sophie's innocent faces were a bittersweet reminder of what had been lost and what still needed protecting. Daddy, is Mommy going to be okay? Sophie asked softly one night. Daniel forced a smile, swallowing the ache inside. She's resting, sweetheart. But the question lingered in his mind. How to protect them now, when the past was so broken? Detective Harper delved deeper, uncovering surveillance footage placing Daniel at the restaurant earlier than he claimed. A neighbor reported hearing a heated argument before the blackout. In a late-night interrogation, Harper pressed Daniel. Why did you lie about your arrival time? Daniel's face hardened. Because I was scared of what I might do. Did you? I didn't mean to, but things spiraled out of control. Daniel's nights grew restless. Haunted by guilt, he found brief comfort only in his daughter's laughter. One evening, Emma found him staring blankly. Daddy, are you okay? She asked gently. Just tired, sweetheart, he replied, hiding the turmoil. Messages surfaced, threats sent from Laura's phone to Eric, the sender's voice disguised. Someone was desperate to bury secrets. The question remained, was Daniel a broken man or something more? Detective Harper returned once more to Daniel. We have the threats, she said. Laura was scared. Daniel nodded slowly. She was trying to protect something or someone. We believe the confrontation went wrong. I never wanted to hurt her, Daniel whispered. But when the lights went out, I lost control. Silence fell heavy between them. Outside his daughters waited, innocent of the storm. Months later, Daniel sat on the porch of a modest house far from the city. Emma and Sophie played nearby, their laughter fragile but healing. Though justice had demanded answers, Daniel was spared prison, his actions deemed tragic, but understandable in the wake of unbearable betrayal. In the quiet moments, he found hope that even shattered vows could someday be mended, and love could survive the darkest storms.